Hello, gorgeous faces. It's so nice to see everyone. I hope everyone gets in. I will keep an eye out, but once the call gets good, I'm afraid late joiners kind of miss out because we're too involved in what we're doing. Everyone, Johnny Heller and Joanna Perrin need no introduction at all because we all know and love them already. And I managed to beg them for another call right before they go into the narrator's retreat this year, which we won't talk about because I'm viciously jealous of and wish I could be there. But you guys know the rules. If you chat amongst yourselves, there's lots of chat on these calls. I will ignore it unless you type the word question in big caps before the call. And also your questions, please don't do anything boring. I don't want to know what's your favorite genre. I want, what's the weirdest thing you've ever worn outside of the house? What's the most offensive thing you've ever done on public transport? I want that kind of question. It's got to be quirky. Something we'll remember them by.
I want to get off the call now.
I didn't mention this to Johnny or Joanna before logging on. So I'm so happy to have you guys back again. And we've done the whole, why did you become narrators? But it occurred to me that there's some questions that I never got a chance to ask you, and I'm really interested in. I'm assuming you listen for enjoyment or have in the past to other audiobooks, or if you watch movies. What do you guys love? What do you listen to and you think, wow, I wish I could do that, or I'd love to narrate that, or what sparks your creativity? Movies, audiobooks, that kind of thing.
Oh, thanks. All right. Oh, well, in terms of audiobooks, one of the things I've started incorporating is listening. I've been trying to go for either long walks or brief runs because I don't like running. But when I go to the gym, and that's when I listen to audiobooks. So I make it sort of a treat. So if I want to hear the rest of the book, I have to do it at the gym. That forces me to go there. So and so I've listened, but I'm a history buff. So I take periods of history or historical epochs and listen to books about them. I listened to Adam Werner did a book some years ago about Lincoln's last trial. I'm a American history guy, and he was just superbly narrated. Great story. It's about literally the trial. Lincoln was involved in a murder trial in Illinois before he became the president. And it's brilliantly done. And right now I'm listening to Simon Vance. Tell me about the French-American War. And before that I listened to a book about Waterloo, and I forgot who did it. A British guy, some British guy who isn't Simon Vance or Simon Preble. He's not named Simon at all. So I have no idea. And other than that, Joanna and I are absolute British mystery and British programming buffs. We watch nothing but British, Australian, and New Zealand. We like it.
Like the ITV drama things, because
yeah, we watch. Well, we get Acorn. You get it at home, but we have Acorn and BritBox, and we watch the stuff all over the place.
Yeah. That's pretty much why I moved here, because I was obsessed with their TV.
Yeah, you moved there for Benny Hill. Don't kid us.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. But did you do well in history in school then? Did you love it when you were a kid?
Me? That was my major. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was poli-sci and American history was my double major.
But like when you were a kid, like really young, was it? I mean, where did it come from?
Well, there was less history then. Yeah. Fewer things that happened. James Romick and I were young lads and hanging out with George Washington and the kids, selling axes. I was always involved in history. Always loved it. Don't know why. I just had a fascination for it. Still do. My bookshelf is all presidential bios and American history. And yeah.
It's not funny where we get these things. Joanna, what about you?
Let me understand the question in terms of what inspires me in audiobooks, or
like for the pure enjoyment. Because, for instance, I listen to nonfiction all the time. and I listen to thrillers, but narrating, I want to narrate thrillers. But what do you listen to that you would like, would really be a treat for you, that you listen to and you don't want to stop?
Well,
I answered the wrong question.
definitely mysteries and thrillers, but also literature, any kind of literature. And I know those sometimes aren't the biggest sellers for audiobooks. And I've done a couple, but really only a couple because I do so much nonfiction. And I would love to do much more literature, more stories about real people, more, story-driven kind of narration, as opposed to, the history of Guatemala and everything else that I do. I do a lot of, it seems geographically centered nonfiction, Japan, China, places where I don't speak the language. For some reason, I get a lot of those books. But yeah, if I could narrate anything, it'd be a lot more mystery and a lot more literature. And those are the books that I listen to and the ones that inspire me.
Because isn't it interesting? So Johnny, did you have a different answer for what you love listening to and everything?
No, but what inspires, what I'd like to do that I've never done, there's two things. I'd like to do some lit RPG, I've never done it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind trying a romance. I don't think not a romance versus erotica. I don't think I'd be too embarrassed to do erotica, just honestly. A romance, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, well,
you'd be surprised though. Do you not think you'd be surprised? It's like the things I thought I'd be embarrassed by. You don't bat an eyelash.
I would bat all my eyelashes. There are things I just can't say in front of.
Why don't you do lit
I can tell
RPG?
filthy jokes, huh?
Why don't you do lit RPG? You could jump right into that like tomorrow.
Because to be honest with you, I have things already lined up. I have to create space.
Yeah.
You have to be offered a lit.
Yeah.
I think you'd enjoy it. And we had Travis on the call Tuesday.
Love
he was
Travis.
talking about the open field and how it's, it's making a ton of money and there are a lot of books. You should sneak one in somewhere.
I should. Well, it'll have to be in next year, I think.
Oh, that brings me to a question, kind of an audiobook related question that I think you guys have answered 100 times. And I kind of vaguely remember coaches answering 100 times. So if you have already told me the answer, obviously I know it. I'm asking on behalf of the listeners. You know how you're supposed to reach out to people like regularly? And every like 7 or 8 weeks or so, you guys might roll your eyes because I think this is a very often repeated question. I can't believe I'm asking it. What if, and they say, oh, well, if you're booked up, then what if you're booked up? And I remember Johnny famously saying, somebody had posted on social media, they're booked up for a year. He's like, don't do that because like publishers, but what if you actually kind of end up in a spot where you're booked up for a really long time? Not me, I'm open for any great publisher jobs at all times, obviously. But what if you are, then at what point do you still reach out to people? And then what do you say? Hi, I'm reaching out so you don't forget me, but I'm really quite busy, so please don't give me a book.
No, that's a negative approach.
That's a negative.
You want to handle that?
Well, you have to just be more positive about it. You say I usually say I'm so disappointed, but I'm so booked up. I can't do this at this time. I can try to accommodate you. How about if I give them options? How about if we do it, if it doesn't bust your schedule, I can do this here and there. I can even send it in as I go if that helps you for proofing and stuff, so that by the time the book's all the way in, you'll have it already proofed. I try to offer options. I don't say I'm so booked up, sorry, can't take your book.
I know, but you see, but that's if they're reaching out to you. But
she's saying, what if we want to? What you do if you're booked up?
Outreach.
Yeah, you stay in touch. You say things like, for example, I don't get in touch with everybody all the time. But if I haven't heard, let's say Brian Barney's a friend of mine. I haven't worked for him for a while at Blackstone, so I may just get in touch. Let's grab lunch. But if I don't work with him, I'll say, Brian, we haven't done anything in a while. Well, I'm working on this exciting project for whoever. Here's the book. It's really cool, and it's got me a little tied up. If you have anything for me, I can probably fit it in and give him like a week or two window where you can work, because even though you may be booked, and only you know your ability to do how many books at any given time. Yeah. Like I've got a book that's due. I'm starting probably as soon as it's probably the 5th of October, and it's due when I get back from the retreat. And then I got a call just today or yesterday from Penguin Random House. And as opposed to doing a book over a period of time, they say, these are 3 days because they have a director work with you at home or they give you a studio.
Right, right.
So I said, well, I can take 3 days out of my recording schedule because you try and build enough in your schedule that you have some room to maneuver. So I didn't have to say no to them. So I guess the answer is you have to know what you can handle in your workload. And then when you contact publishers, say, hi, listen, you don't do, I hope you haven't forgotten me. You don't say, don't forget me. You say, I haven't forgotten you. I haven't forgotten you. They can't do anything without you.
Yeah, yeah.
Stop putting yourself in the position.
Oh, I love that. I haven't forgotten, because the ones I get booked the most from, funny enough, the guy I get booked the most for Harper from, most of our emails are, because he used to have a bird. It's like, look at a picture of my new budgie.
Sure.
You know, because I'm not trying, because we have a relationship.
Yes. Once relationship is built, then you talk about other things.
Yeah.
But other people say, listen, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm just a little tied up. I think I've got some room in my schedule if you have a book that you'd like me to do in the second week of January or whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that because you're not being but you saying to them, don't forget about me, sounds a little
Oh yeah, I would
needy,
never put
desperate.
that in the actual.
Yeah. So I think too many actors do that too often. And I think it tends to continue that bad idea that the publishers are on the pedestal and we're looking. Yeah.
But you've got a good point, because although, of course, I was joking and I would never say that in the email, but that was in my mind. And if something's in your mind, that's going to come across in your letters as well.
Absolutely. Your word choice will be definitely affected by what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you love history, you love mysteries and thrillers. And what have you ever listened to a narrator and thought, wow, I really like the way they do that, and tried to incorporate it? Do you listen, when you listen to books, with an analytical ear? And have you ever tried to incorporate something that you really enjoyed in your own narrations? Or, because I kind of don't, in a way. I have a few times, but I try to turn off my narrator when I'm listening. What do you guys do?
Well, one of the things I do, which I did recently, is I'm doing a romance, and I've never done a romance per se, and this is not erotica. It's totally bland. I think there's one possible sex scene, and I'm not even sure. Anyway, so I thought, okay, I can handle this. But
it's a curious ending as opposed to a happy ending. Yeah.
But and it's trying to be more. It's a more literate story. You know,
Okay.
it has heartbreak in it and everything else. It's not like any romances that I've either read in the past or heard pieces of. But because of the type of romance it was, I went into Audible and my library and downloaded a couple of what those types might mesh with the same thing I'm doing. I thought, well, this is in that style, just to hear what other narrators, and some of them I'd never heard of, these narrators, or they're a pseudonym that I probably know the person, but not their pseudonym, to get a feel for how they do their characters. And for instance, I noticed a lot of what I was listening to, people didn't do that many characters. You know, it's like, my sister said, and they raised their voice a little bit. And so they weren't all that distinctive. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm not supposed to do heavy, you know, give somebody an Irish accent, somebody's English, and completely change them around. So it's been a learning experience, but I do stuff like that. I mean, I have narrators I listen to because I enjoy them, but if I get a book that's nothing like what I've done before, I try to always find something in that genre, even if it's only on Audible, and download clips so I can get a feel for how people handle that kind of topic.
I love that, because Travis brought that up, because Travis said that he goes in. I don't know if he said he goes in or you can go in. If it's a genre and he's looking to identify the specific tone, etc. And I know there's a big debate about that, because you're supposed to be letting the script present you with the story and you follow the script completely. But he said, I think it's more in the vein of what Joanna was saying she does, to find out what the particulars of that genre are. Travis will read the reviews of like the best selling in that genre to pick out if there are any main characteristics that the fans seem to like about it.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't even
a-
read my own reviews, so I don't know if I could do that, but
Well, it's an interesting point. So I think that what you said is the way I look at things. Let the script determine the read. But I do think that that being said, and that being true, there's also, I think, listeners have a certain expectation in a given genre, and I think you have to be aware of that. And if you want to be doing that genre, you probably have to find a way to get into that, but
Yeah.
still use the script, adapt it a little bit. I find myself listening to besides people I like and things I like, I listen once in a while to the allegedly wonderful people that everybody's bragging about and being successful, and see if I like what they do. I try not to be too analytical, but there are a number of big time narrators that I just don't like. I don't like what they do. I'm analytical when I watch stand-up comedy, but I'm not so much when I do audiobooks.
you're
But I do-
analytical when you watch stand-up comedy?
I used to do it all the time, so I'm really kind of, I always judge, I'm very judgmental.
Wow.
Yeah, I
That
know,
you're
yeah.
supposed to let go. Isn't that
There's
the
no,
whole
no,
point?
there's no letting go. for me. I don't have that. No, so I judge the shit out of them. Can I say things like that? Can I work blue on Zoom?
You'll have to zap
That's
out.
right. Can
You'll
I?
have like an exclamation point over his mouth as he's
Can we
speaking.
swear on these things? Daniela?
I didn't hear the
Yeah.
questions.
Can,
Sorry.
can we?
Oh, is he allowed to swear?
Because I just did.
He just
Um,
swore.
I didn't even hear what he said. Obviously, my ear is not.
Excellent.
tuned.
Excellent. That's fine. We'll keep it that
That's
way.
I
Yeah.
think we did have one video of yours that we had to make child, but I didn't even hear anything, so I don't think there was anything explicit. I'll double
Okay.
check when we.
Yeah, you should. You probably should.
Yeah, I thought he's trying to talk about blue, and I'm thinking, is he second guessing his outfit at this point of the call? It's a
Yeah.
little-
I was gonna, but don't you think that anything you've ever loved and done that's not audiobooks or even audiobooks, you become analytical when you see the product produced by somebody else? I mean, when I started out in theater, I wanted to be a techie. So I did production stage management. Then I fell into acting. But to this day, when I go to a show, I'll go, somebody missed a cue. I can see the boom. I'm still analyzing the production stage management procedures. I go, oh, that was off.
Yeah.
And so while I'm enjoying the show, I get analytical about not the acting. I get analytical about the set.
Yeah, that's why we don't have kids. We'd never be able to handle the grade school shows.
Yeah, but I got, you know
Sloppy
what?
workmanship.
I just, you guys made me realize something though, because I won't embarrass myself again, but yes, I have a spreadsheet up until I'm 100, planning every 15 minutes of my life. And I've had it before spreadsheets were in existence. So I do overdo the analytical, but when I watch a movie or a TV show, I grew up watching TV. I thought Lucy was my aunt. I thought those people were my family, and I hated award ceremonies because who are these people? They're not my characters. I literally get lost in the story. And I never realized, I think that's why I don't listen to, people want me to listen to their, you know how fellow narrators, can you listen? And then you want to review, and of course you love their stuff and you don't want to let them down. I don't want to listen if I'm thinking about who it is, because I want to get lost in the story. That book with Johnny did that I've never shut up about, but I got lost in it. I didn't know it was Johnny. I mean, luckily I didn't know who you were at the time. So like, it was the book that mattered to me, and the narration took me into the book, and I forgot the person.
That's wonderful to hear. And that's what everybody really, there's no way if James Rumick or Nancy, anybody sends me, I'm looking at your faces, sends me something, Johnny, listen to this. Well, of course I know it's James or Nancy or Peter, whoever, because they sent it to me. But if I'm listening, narrated by Peter Lerman, and then that's pretty much the last time I want to think that it's Peter. I want to be in the story. And that's what we should aspire to. Mm-hmm. I speak the different cadence and syntax and other people, fine. But once you're into it and accepted that, then it doesn't matter that it's me or Joanna or anybody. You should be lost in the author story.
Yeah, the joy of it. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't realize that I did that, but I do. I think I'm very good at that. I can watch a TV show that most people think is like the stupidest thing on earth, and I can just totally, and I believe the characters. I think that's magic, actually. I never
Yeah.
realized that.
Yeah.
I never realized that.
That's acting.
That's
Yeah. But when I'm trying to do it, when Joanna was saying about the boom over there, when I'm trying to do something, I have the analytical bitch. That's not a bad word, I don't think, but she comes right out to play. So I have to turn her off. And it's not so easy. The Johnnies, if you're not feeling in the moment, leave the booth. It's like, oh my God, I would think, if you're honest, you're like, how many minutes of narration would I get completed?
You can't stay out of the booth all day and get it done. Sooner or later, you got to get in that moment. Yeah.
But you're a writer, aren't you, Joanna? So that puts a whole different perspective on it, because there's no way if you narrate, you've got that layer. Do you have the writer layer when you're narrating?
Yeah, well, again, I do a lot of nonfiction. And yes, I mean, especially in nonfiction, you get very intelligent people who don't have an editor, it seems. So that, everything's a run-on sentence. They don't use commas. There are no pauses. You have to put in your own pauses. So yeah, I get very analytical with the writing. I don't so much with other stuff. I mean, with some fiction, I'll go, oh, this is written for like a 10-year-old or something, and then I just won't read it. But it's more with the nonfiction. I get very kind of analytical about it. But I have to say, doing audiobooks does help with your own writing, because now when I write, I'll look at a sentence and think, if that sentence doesn't flow for me, it's not going to flow. Not that anyone's doing my audiobooks, but if someone were to record it, it's not going to work. So doing audiobooks does help. I think all authors should kind of do at least one audiobook so they get the idea.
Yeah, narrate.
Because then I think it would definitely change the way they write. You can write glorious, beautiful, evocative sentences, but if a human can't say them and make them sound real, they're pointless.
It would be like being bilingual, wouldn't it?
Very nice.
It would be like being bilingual. I would think that if you're bilingual, you would have a better understanding of your own language, because you had to learn it all the way around. You had to interpret it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what about books? I recently did a book, nonfiction, that broke me. I mean, and it's what they always, and I understand most nonfiction narrators say, I love nonfiction because I like to learn. And most of the time, I don't really believe them. I believed Peter Lerman. Peter really loved nonfiction and you can hear it when he's doing it. But I kind of sometimes have to be dragged kicking and screaming if it's not a good thriller or something. But this one, and it was on a really hard subject, the environment and how all the animals are dying, and it was beautifully written, and I cried, and it changed me, and literally changed me as a human being. It's by an environmentalist, and about, it was very, very personal. Are there any books that you've walked away from that you feel have changed you, even in narration, not in narration, anything you've read, anything that you feel just had such an impact on you, it changed you as a human being?
Changing as a human being is kind of a tall order. I think it involved me emotionally and made me think about things I wouldn't normally think about. There's a number. I mean, I've done some horrific books. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just so. It's about Nazi atrocities and stuff.
Oh, and, see,
and that kind of stuff just rips me. And so in other books I've done that are supposed to really have an impact on me, like you did the environment. I've done a lot of books on human genome stuff, and to be honest with you, I've done like 5 or 6 of them. I don't even know what a genome is. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm talking about half the time. And so it hasn't changed me at all, except I can't believe I'm getting away with this. So they bought it. But other books move me quite a bit. But I don't think it's changed me as a human being. I don't think that's nothing. I think we go through changes, hopefully, or you evolve
Yeah, no, this
consistently.
one changed me.
Why, you left-handed now? I mean, what?
Well, no, but like people with the environment, like I'm one of those people. I think that, like, of course I care. I recycle.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably, I don't eat meat. I'm a reasonably nice human being that takes care of things. But now I'm like a nutcase that, like, is afraid to use anything with plastic, anything. I'm like, I feel responsible. I mean, it doesn't help that I worked for one of the big oil companies, and the book was not pleased about what they've done to the world. So I felt a small amount of guilt. But yeah, it's like you're either one of those animal activist people, or you're, everyone's a scale, in their beliefs. And this one brought me way over.
I did a book about Katrina, and that affected me for quite a while, because it was such an honest and brutal telling of how, frankly, rampant racism doomed a lot of New Orleans residents. Just the way things are set up and the way the help went out there, and it had nothing to do with anybody. It had everything to do with money and skin color, and that wasn't long ago. And that kind of stuff just. But I think here's the thing. I think I'm in a place to be affected by that at any time in my life, as you are in the environment. I'm not sure it made a change. It just gave you more information.
Yeah, I think maybe we protect ourselves because there are all these things out there. We can't, like, look at all the horrible, ghastly things every minute of the day. But when you do
CNN for half an hour is enough.
Yeah, that's too much for me.
Yeah. Which is, I'm quite good with psycho killers.
I have to say,
they're fine. They never hurt the environment.
I have to say, if you get a nonfiction that's well written, because they're out there, and if it's well written and it's a topic that even remotely you have a feel for, like you did on this book, I'm not saying it changes you as much as it enlightens you and opens you up, so you start to notice stuff more, if that makes sense. Like you'll notice whatever you've read, if it's new to you, you'll think, I never noticed that before. And all of a sudden you notice it everywhere because it's always been there. You just paid no attention to it, kind of thing. So I don't know if there are any books that have changed me. There have been books that have brought me to tears and I've had to leave the booth. I did a book on child abuse that it still gives me nightmares. Yeah. That I could only do I literally did a paragraph and I left. And I'd come back and do a paragraph and I'd leave. I go off and cry and come back because who wants to listen to it?
I know, because you can't. Some of them are just. If like, at what point am I going to stop crying?
Yeah, really. And I've done books that made me so angry that I can't disguise my anger. And then I'd go back and listen and say, I gotta moderate that a little bit. But then I realized that's exactly that's the author's tone. They're angry. Yeah. They are angry. So I'm not going to just waltz through it like I'm walking through the lilies. I mean, this person is angry about this topic.
And you learn, do you not change what you think about? Like, you think you know yourself and then you become a narrator. I always thought I was a feminist, women's rights, don't put up with anything. And I did a book and I didn't realize, relatively new. And it was I can't even remember the name of it now. The whole thing where they play games and men kind of own women. And I'm not advocating anything here, but like, they have clubs and they have like leashes. It was one of those books, right? That I should have been
Nancy Drew mystery. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I should have been horribly angry and pissed off. But the thing about it is, it's a whole world, and the people that are voluntarily in it, and the writer is in that world and friends with the people in that world, and the nicest human being on earth, and they're respecting each other. I don't agree with them. It's completely, but it's their world, and you kind of develop a respect, and they're having a great time. They're, they're with their friends. They're doing what they want to do. They're living the way they want. And then I've done books about different religions where you would think, of course, this is fine. And you're angry by the end. You're like, so the things you think you'll be mad at, do you find that when you're narrating, you change your mind because you're always growing and evolving?
gosh, I think you may learn more. I don't know if you,
Yeah.
I think narrators tend to get books and accept books that are already sort of in their wheelhouse in terms of what they're willing to accept and expound on. I mean, for a long time, I did a whole lot of right-wing political books, lots, until the right wing found out that I was left.
That you
So-
were that Johnny Heller.
So that changed things. But when I read the right wing books, say that 3 times fast,
sounds like it, yeah.
right wing books, I
Right-wing.
I learned a lot about what they thought and sometimes why they thought it, and I never agreed with any of it.
But how did
But
you
it gave me-
separate your anger about things while doing those books?
That's it, because I said yes to the book. I knew what I was getting into. It wasn't, here's the deal, it wasn't a question of religion or morals or ethics. It's a question of me telling a story, fiction or nonfiction. And so I'm an actor. I don't make those judgments.
That's your job at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and we
if
all
I
do
get
our
up and
job.
say, hey, I use, Burt's Bees chapstick. Well, maybe I don't. But if
But I
they're going
think
to give me
we have to
$10,000,
respect
I'll say I
it.
do.
You have to respect the job
You have to respect
accepted.
Burt Bees chapstick.
And
Yeah.
the writer, I mean, that could be their life's
Yeah.
work.
I
that
do.
they've-
By the way, I do like Burt Bees chapsticks. My dog ate the last one.
The dog ate one.
Yeah, dog ate the
He
last
likes
one.
it too. It was funny flavored.
You guys ever do books about dogs?
I've done books about dogs, many books
Yeah.
about dogs. And some were bad, and some broke my heart. And I had a hard time, but I didn't always know. I did Marley and Me. That was heartbreaking.
Oh my
You know,
God, that
that's-
movie, why
I
did
didn't go to the
anyone ever
movie. I
make that?
I didn't go to the movie because why would I do that to myself?
Oh, I
Yeah,
can't
my-
believe you did that book. That would kill me. You have dogs.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think I told you the story once. When I was a little kid and I was reading Old Yeller on the porch, and I'm reading it, and my big brother came out and goes, "Hey, what are you reading?" I said, "Old Yeller." He goes, "They killed the dog yet?" My brother's a dick. Anyway, so yeah, so yeah, and they hadn't, by the way. I had no idea that was going to happen.
I thought that was, they let us read that in school. And I remember
they-
going home and telling my parents that they should complain and get the teacher fired because we
Oh.
were young and we shouldn't be exposed to that kind of thing.
That's
Cruelty.
horrific. Yeah. That kind of, when I started in this business, I did a whole lot of YA coming of age books. And I started thinking the only way anybody ever went from boyhood to manhood was their dog, their dad, their mom, or their brother died gruesomely in front of them. And that's the only way you could get anywhere. Because that's all these books. There was a book called A Day No Pigs Would Die. Well, the pig died. The whole book was a lie.
The
So there's
one thing
all
I have a
those-
problem with is animals dying. And I hate to say it, the one genre that I love, they
Is about me.
always kill the animal. Like,
Yeah.
as that and Disney, or should I edit that out? I don't want to get sued. But yeah, but like, I don't want to watch a book if you're going to like break my heart by killing the
Yeah.
animal. It's an easy out.
And
Kill the
you can't tell
uncle.
by the title. It never says, James Romick, puppy serial killer. It doesn't say that. Yes, you don't know.
And they're always really graphic. Like they're more graphic with the animals. I hate that because people in literature, in any writing, people find it easier to like abuse the animal than the human beings.
Tell them the thing about we look at before we watch a movie.
Oh,
There's a
well, we
website.
were joking around a long time ago and said, we should come up with a website that tells people, did any animals die in this movie? And so you can put in the name of the movie and they'll tell you. And then we did it. We were still talking about it about a week ago, and there's an actual website now. And isn't it
Yeah,
called?
I think it's called Does the Animal Die? I
Does
think
the
it's
animal
called.
die?
Yeah.
Or does the animal die? But there's an actual website.
And you put the movie in and it tells you.
And it tells you,
I
you
might
know,
need to use
horse
that.
falls, cow does something, dog does
Because we don't, you remember Game of Thrones? Yeah, do you remember that
I've never
program, Game
seen
of
Game
Thrones?
of
All the kids are
Thrones.
talking about it. Yeah. I tried to watch it like 5 times, and the very first episode, I don't even remember, they killed these baby wolves, these little puppy guys, and I said, I'm not watching this. And it took me literally 5 times, and I fast forwarded through that, and all the rest, all the completely disgusting murders of everybody was fine. It was killing
I
those
know.
little puppies. was too
I
much.
know, I've got no, but I got the bird book,
Bars
I
down
got
there.
booked for the bird book the day after my bird died.
Oh my. Oh.
It was, so
God.
it was a little bit, and like, I think because environmentalists, I guess part of their job is ripping your heart out and describing in detail what they do. So yeah, but then I've got no problem with the most grisly, except, the slasher movies. They put those on and I'm just like so bored.
I never watched those. Nothing scary or slashery. I don't watch them.
Yeah, like I don't like, cheap. I don't like cheap. Make it interesting. Don't give me a cheap out. Don't just like blood. I want motive and like craziness, and I want Fellini and death all mixed together.
Nightmare on Elm Street by Fellini. That's not going to happen.
Actually, that could be an idea.
Go with it. It's all yours. Take it away. Ingmar Bergman's Halloween 3.
Actually, though, you could do a whole new genre, like an off-put,
Yeah, redo Be a Bride of Chucky, but with really good directors. Yeah.
But but that's what I love about, I think the things I appreciate about this job aren't the things I expected to appreciate. I mean, I do appreciate working in my pajamas, but the things I appreciate the most.
Dolce Vita on Elm Street.
Oh, I love that, Peter. La Dolce Vita. Yes.
Sorry, that's funny.
But do you not find, because you're around creative people all the time, that your creativity sparks on like everything? You come up with ideas like all day long that might not even have to do with audiobooks, of like ways to work things. Do you not find that with this job and the people you hang out with? You guys have never had soulless corporate jobs. That part of your personality disappears completely. You've always been creatives, huh?
I started in a newspaper, so yeah, I've always been. Yeah, I've never not been in a position of some kind of creativity. That's all I've got. Yeah. I did do one soulless job, and I couldn't handle it. It's awful.
What was your soulless job?
It was in. Yeah, I don't want to put. I don't want to do it. I want to put the people down. They still exist.
Yeah. No, but I'm what
genre?
Without saying the type of job, what was the element of it that you hated?
Hospitality management, working for corporate stick in the mud asswipes who had everything had to be done by the book, even though the book was wrong. You know, it's do it this way. And why do you do it this way? If you did it this way, we're not doing it. It's like, and it was just very, very corporate. And I don't fit in the corporate thing at all. It's not.
I think everyone. I remember, Joanna, you said you had one. I remember you told us about yours, didn't you? You briefly.
Office manager.
Yeah, I was an office manager right out of college for a company. They hired me to be a receptionist. And then they came to me the second, I guess it was a compliment, the second day and said, you're too smart. A monkey could do this job. Come back here. And they brought me in the back.
The next day, Curious
and
George.
within a week, I had been promoted and I was like this manager for the VP. And I didn't know what, you know what I mean? I didn't know, I really didn't type, and I could file, I could type, but I wasn't like, 150 words a minute. But he wanted me because he wanted me to be a front for his clients because he was out of town a lot. And it was kind of a soulless job too. I mean, it was like, and then I left after about a year and a half, and they offered me something that sometimes I wonder, should I have taken, to be the affiliate in Italy, to move to Rome and learn to be a salesperson. This was a fiber company.
But you wouldn't have met Johnny.
That's true. But
Yeah,
I don't.
You don't know. I think
really
we would have.
Exciting about wood pulp.
Oh, I love that, because did you hear that? He thinks you would have fate and destiny, right, Johnny?
There's no way. I can't imagine not having her. So no, I would have been in Italy doing something.
Oh, we promised Joanna we wouldn't get soppy and romantic, but that is so romantic. That's lovely. Oh, then you could have had Johnny and the job in Italy.
Yeah, you could.
Good job in Roma. Oh, lovely.
I could have worked in a spaghetti place.
I'd be pushing fiber, wood pulp.
Oh, see, I think everyone should have that soulless corporate job, though, so that they know what to compare it to. Don't you
Okay.
think?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Well, one great thing about what we all do and what we all aspire to do is it is creative and it is enjoyable, and it's not punching someone else's time clock. I think we lose track of the fact that we are our own business.
Yeah.
And Wanda's showing herself. Yay!
Because I was so moved by what you just said. I couldn't.
Carol!
I love.
I've been begging Carol to come on a cup of Joe call, guys. Everyone clap and tell her we want her on a Joe call.
Yay, we want you, yes.
Thank you. I will.
I think, but anyway, I think that we all are the creative aspects of this job. I think some of us, and a lot of people come to this, are successful from a business background, and they treat it like a business first.
Yeah.
That's true.
And they still never learn how to perform. But
Yeah, I know people like that like they're so proud of like managing their own business, and they
Yeah,
think
but then you listen to them.
numbers and money, and I hate that. I hate
Audible
that.
stars, yeah,
Yeah.
great.
You're like missing the point of working in your pajamas.
Well, I'm sure all of us are just kind of dressed from the waist up right now. Well,
We are, but we look
moving our way
good.
through the Zoom call. Yeah.
I don't want to forget before it moves up, we have a question here from Melissa. What did you dream of being as a child, high schooler? Do you still think you want to try that? And if it's the Melissa that I know, she's like, nothing stops her. She's been trying new things her whole life. So you can always do what you always wanted to do.
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, 10, 11, 12, I wanted to be a vet because I loved animals. We had chickens and dog and a bird and turtles. And so I wanted to be a vet. And for a long time, I thought I would do that. Until one day my father came to me and said, you do know the first time you lose an animal, they'll have to carry you out of the room. And I thought about it and I said, I can't do this. I would never be able to do this. So that's something I know. I admire vets. I think they're saints, but there's just no way. That's something I would pick up again at some point.
I wanted to, it's crazy. I wanted to play football, and then I realized I was too little, and I wanted to play baseball. And then I was too little and too oft injured. So then all I cared about was all I wanted to be is an actor all the time. So that's what I was.
Yeah.
Your voice, you could have been one of those baseball announcers because doesn't he have that voice?
Yeah, I would love that. As a matter of fact, we did some of those things. I'm doing that. Kyle Tate and I are supposed to do it. What do you call it? Old vintage baseball championships next year. And Kyle Tate and I should be calling it, I think.
Oh,
And I may be calling the spelling bee finals and some other things. Yeah, so I'm getting my sports dream.
Yeah, because you've got that. I know people hate that, but like you've got a voice for audiobooks, but you do. Does he not? He's got that
I've got a face for
Americana
audiobooks.
voice.
That's it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. And also the animals thing. Yeah, I was still doing this for 3 months after I lost a budgie. I don't think I could work in an office where they're dying every day.
That's too hard. Yeah, that's tough.
Hard.
And I don't know how you distance yourself from. If you're a doctor, I can see distancing yourself from most people because most people suck. But animals, I don't know how you do that. Yeah, I mean, you've got the big C. I give you half an hour, but your dog, I don't know how you say that.
Yeah, but I love that because I think the animal thing and the art thing and the audiobooks, we put ourselves at the edge of like what most people in the world are afraid of. And we're always there. And I love that. Talk about living life.
Yeah, I think it's true. And I think here's the opposite of that, though. My hat is off and to a lot of my colleagues as I went through this journey who decided it wasn't for them, either whether it's stage or screen or film or audiobooks, decide this is just not, that decision is as valid and as important as the decision to do it.
Yes.
And I think no one should ever, this, if it was for everybody, it wouldn't be important to anybody.
Yeah, I don't think it's what it is. It's it doesn't matter what it is. It's finding and having the guts to go straight into what you and everyone knows, know. And I know people that do, in another life, I'd love to do ballet. I'd kill to be in the circus. I tried clowning. I'd love to do that stuff. But even things I don't understand, like, paint, everything I'm thinking is creative. But like people that do like woodworking and cabinetry and if you want to do it. That's
I spent years in shop class, and that's going to be the ashtray.
I went
James, too close. Pull it back. Pull it back. James, back.
Oh, James, yes, because the cabinetry.
Where did it go?
He disappeared.
What is that you're holding up? He said just a second. See, he knows cabinetry, but he doesn't know how to unmute a mic.
I know. James. And Peter, not rodeo clown. I was a red-nosed clown. I wish I was a rodeo clown. I'd be afraid to climb on the horse, though. I think we've lost James.
Oh, I've totally lost interest.
No.
Is that a cup? Oh, it's a coffee mug.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go. Okay, yeah.
Checkerboard pattern.
Nice.
Very nice.
But
Very
James
nice,
loves
Jim.
doing
Very
it.
nice.
He loves doing
Next week
it.
we'll let you talk. Okay,
I think what I admire is the people that have the strength to claim what they love doing, because the world is always telling you not to. And no matter what it is, the world's telling you.
But is the world telling you that, or are you telling you that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, none of us are all that important to the world, basically.
Yeah.
The world rarely gets in touch with me. Yeah.
I haven't spoken to me in a while.
I don't know. My whole life, I thought that the world was telling me, saying that probably it was just my parents.
It's a small world.
Do you know what's ironic is my whole life, I thought my parents wanted me to like be a lawyer or a doctor or something. I mean, what was I thinking? My father was this weird eccentric Italian that was like buying goats and raising vegetables in the suburbs in California. And I thought they wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor. God knows where I got that idea. Turns out my father was like, years later,
I want you to be a clown.
He's like, why can't you just be a dental hygienist? Then you get paid a regular salary and benefits.
At the beginning of this thing, I asked Daniela what she gets out of these. Why does she do them? And I know it's just like therapy. It's the Daniela soap opera hour. We learn all about it.
Go deep on this call.
That's right.
On the other calls, I'm all about the guest. I got to tell you, I'm not using you guys for.
And Daniela, how does that make you feel?
I used to go and edit out any crazy parts, the double chin, or any bits that I might look too eccentric. But now I just don't care.
No, you edit this thing, there'll be nothing left if you get rid of the crazy stuff. You'll have the introduction and the close.
We'll all be smiling.
Does anybody have any questions?
Anybody, you guys don't forget, present your questions and I will throw them. I see what catches them is the questions got to be quirky though. Doesn't have to be that quirky, but just
we'll take that out.
Okay, so when you're coaching people, what do you wish you could tell them or get across to people that sometimes you don't think they understand?
That's a tough.
A lot of things actually.
That's a tough one. Well, what I wish a lot is that they would just stop trying to show off. Stop trying to impress me. Just shut up and listen for a second. Let it sink in and then go back. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you work with an actor, you say, you know what? That was some good things happen there. And I always got to say that because what I'd like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. And then off they go.
No.
I'm like, I haven't said anything, not a word. And all of a sudden they're doing another take and I've literally said nothing and they do the same thing again. I'm thinking, let me just say, oh, I got you. And off they go. And that happens more often than you would think. I'm thinking, why are you paying me? You're just going to read the same thing for an hour and I'm not going to say anything. And so I wish they would just take a note, take a second, let it sink in and see how you feel about it. Because I may be terribly wrong. And let's discuss that too.
Yeah.
But I just wish, I guess I wish they'd be a little more patient sometimes, and not so intent on impressing me so they get a gold star for the day. That's not the point of the work at all. People are afraid, terribly afraid to fail, even in a one-on-one with a coach.
Yeah.
And I find that real problematic. It's got to be a safe place. So go ahead and screw up. It's okay, because that's how you learn. Doing things perfectly, I've got nothing to say. What am I gonna? I'm not gonna fix it if it ain't broke. You know. I guess that's my big issue.
I think my big thing is that people lose their sense of humor the minute they're on one-to-one. They're talking, they're fine, they're animated, and then when they read, they lose their sense of humor. All of a sudden, their natural voice goes out the window, and they start speaking in, they think they're supposed to narrate like this, and all of a sudden, their cadence, their tone, everything changes. And I kind of go, where was that person who was there 5 minutes ago?
Yeah.
I want that person back reading this. And that's one of my pet peeves, that people, I don't know if it's trying to show off.
They put on an actor hat.
But people put on, I am an actor now. Yeah, and and they start doing this emoting, and it's like, whoa, just step back and let your natural light shine through, and let's start from there. So that's kind of one of my pet peeves. And smoothness, I call it, the fact that everybody who starts out, and I still do it sometimes, and I catch myself, we take pauses in weird places, which sounds fine as I'm speaking to you because you see me and we're, but when you're reading, it's very disturbing. So if someone says, the cat went out the window, and you kind of go, you wouldn't take a pause there. Yeah. You would at least finish the thought. And so I find a lot of narrators, whether they're seasoned or new, those are a lot of, they have the fake voice syndrome, and they have that, they don't know the flow. They break the flow unintentionally. And that's kind of what I deal with a lot with my students. And I try to break that out of them. And I do it myself. I've caught myself, I'll listen back and think, why didn't that sound right? It's because I said the cat went out the window. And so I realized I've done it, and I've done so many books, and I've been doing it a long time. So when you're new, especially, it's a hard habit to break, to get them people to understand that it has to be a smooth take for the listener, because otherwise it's jarring.
I had a really mean writer, really, really mean writer, like really mean. She took mean to a whole other level. And
What you mean?
She said that I ruined her writing because I didn't pay proper attention to her. I was very new, like in that nervous, do you like me, please like me new. And she said, and I've got to give it to her. She scared the hell out of me. So from that minute on, I like read the punctuation as if I'm reading the script. I don't, it's a second layer in my head, but like I'm not conscious when I'm in the booth, but I worked very hard to break that habit, because she was so mean. I was new and she was so mean. So it's one thing like I don't do, I might still, if my breathing, but sometimes you learn like the hard way. We've got 2 questions. I don't want to lose. If you could have any superpower, which superpower would you each choose to have?
Superpower. Ooh, people always think of that. And they always change their mind too.
Change your mind. So many nice ones. Being invisible is good.
See, that's the first one people think of.
Flying would be great.
That's the second thing people think of.
I think if I could time travel, that'd be what I'd do. I'd love to be invisible and time travel, so that they don't know I'm there.
Oh, I like that. But
I'd love to have the power to affect people's minds, to make them do whatever I want.
That's disturbing.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't misuse it except in like banks. Okay,
so invisible time traveler and the power to affect minds. And what's your favorite?
Is that? Is that Magneto? Who is there an X-Man who does that?
That affects your brain?
Doesn't one of those guys make you do shit that you don't want to do?
I don't know. It's probably something.
I don't know. I didn't think there was.
All right, then I'll be Spider-Man. Okay.
I don't want to be caught in, like medieval times and they see me.
Yeah.
I don't like the invisible thing.
Why are you
because,
dressed in
like,
that sweater? What is that?
But
What
I
is
know,
that?
but
Who's that girl in the Doc
invisible-
Martens?
That girl in Doc Martens.
But the whole point of time traveling is the outfit opportunities. And if you're invisible,
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
Yeah, but then I can't get in trouble.
Yeah. A suit of armor that you can't see is worthless.
No, but then you can't get.
okay, what's your favorite candy and your most hated?
Ooh.
I have two favorite candies,
Oh,
Flake bars and Aero bars.
oh, that's true.
And my most hated candy, I don't eat a lot of candy. I guess things of nougat. Jujubes. Oh, screw
Jujubes.
Jujubes are gross.
Yeah.
They're just made to rip your cavities and fillings out. Jujubes are they're made by the American Dental Association.
These are good questions. Rebecca asked
Sure.
the superhero one, I forgot to say, and
Yeah,
Lisa's asking this one.
To
Jujubes.
ensure that they send you to the dentist right after they're from. What candy do you like?
Well, my favorite,
She's a chocoholic.
I'm a chocoholic. So then my favorite junk candy would be Almond Joy.
Oh, I
Mounds.
miss those. The dark.
You don't have those?
Are they the dark ones?
They have dark ones. Yeah, I love dark chocolate.
And mounds are dark with coconut. Those are
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And then any other dark chocolate, anything that's dark.
So what do you not like?
Oh, I don't like gummy bear stuff. I
Oh,
have a
wow.
girlfriend who pops those things like they're the best things in life, and I just don't get it. I've
I
tried.
think they're made out
Stuck
of
in
an
tea.
animal. I'm
Oh,
looking
because they
for
look like an
another-
animal?
Yeah. I think, no,
Oh.
I think they're made out of an animal, like
Oh, they're made
dolphins
out
or
of an animal?
something.
Because
Yeah.
of gelatin, you mean? Because of
Yeah,
the gelatin?
I think they're made out of
Gelatin,
an
yeah.
animal, like dolphins.
Another
or
reason. It's another very
oh.
disturbing.
Ooh,
something. Favorite Halloween
did.
costume? That's from Leslie. Oh, see, Peter, I told you Peter loves his nonfiction. Gelatin is made from bones. Ugh. Favorite Halloween costume? And then guys, I'm gonna cut off the questions at Halloween costume because we have to get their famous last words for the time vault. So
Oh.
favorite Halloween costume.
I never had a favorite. I rarely celebrate Druid holidays. I just whatever I could put on that was easy and would allow me to get a bag of candy. I never cared about the costumes. Nothing. I just didn't care. I put
Results
on,
oriented.
yeah. The fake nose, the Groucho, glasses nose, and anything simple that would just let. And I put on. There's a guy down the street who he worked for the potato chip company in Chicago. It's called Jay's, and you go there and he'd give you Jay's potato chips. So my brothers and I would just keep going, and we just switched costumes. And so we keep going back, and we lived across the street. Because, guys, we know who you are. But we thought we were clever kids. But
Yeah, you were clever.
Joanna?
I don't know if I've ever had a favorite. I mean, obviously when I was a kid, I was always a princess. But as an adult, I don't think I've ever, I did go as Norma Ray once to a, it was a movie theme, and then I picked up Norma Ray. And
I'm
I had
getting a
striped
picture now
sign.
of young Joanna.
Yeah.
And I found it highly entertaining, and nobody else did.
Did everyone else find it as entertaining?
I'm not sure. But I did stand up on a table and say, no.
I like to see that.
Okay, so on that note, so we're burying the little, the school, we're burying it in the yard, the time travel vault, and you're going to put something in it that people are going to open up, watch on this YouTube channel in 60 years. What would you like them to see?
In my case, gelatin.
Famous last
Funny.
words, advice.
Well,
funny
I'm certain
jokes.
that based on this, the questions and answers, I guess we've never really, none of us learned anything today, which I think is important. So I think, and if you're going to look at the end of this thing, I think it's important to say that, sometimes it's good just to get together and share and enjoy
Yep.
without having to learn something. Sometimes it's just fun
To have
just to
fun.
be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everything has to have a point. You don't have to
Right.
walk out of everything you've ever done.
Right.
And say, hey, that suddenly you're changed. It just,
Sometimes
it's,
you want to hang out.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's it. I think that's important, and valuable, and as helpful as learning things sometimes. Certainly this time.
I agree. Think of it as we had a coffee clutch without
Without coffee.
Oh, I
We had
love
clutch.
that. I
We had a
love that.
clutch.
I love that. Well, I would want to find this in the time travel vault in 60 years if I were opening it. So it's been, as always, pure joy hanging out with you guys. You gave me a nugget of advice that was career changing on the last call. The first call I had with you guys individually, I think it's valuable, and it's the same way I felt about the Scott Brick call. And when Sean comes on, it's you guys are well known for what you do. You provide invaluable services, you guide people, you lead people, you do unbelievable work, and everyone looks up to you. But it's what Johnny said in the beginning. He gets uncomfortable when people are like, oh, that's Johnny Heller, and it's like they don't know the person. And I think in the calls that you've come, people have gotten to the point that they're understanding they can know Johnny and Joanna. I mean, you know, maybe not hang out with you guys next door and like rock out for Christmas, but you guys are human beings. And I think it's so good for people joining to know that we're all human beings, you know, different parts of the journey, and we can all learn from each other. And plus, you guys are the coolest people on earth, basically.
We don't need to be on a pedestal. I mean, we're not a high one anyway.
Yeah. I think Scott Brick got a little worried at the end of the call. I said, oh no, I stalk Johnny and Joanna. I'm always sending them emails about how they changed my career. And I could see Scott go, oh my God. But we just love you guys. That's it. End of story.
Oh, thanks.
We're always delighted to be here.
Yeah, it's always,
Yeah.
always
Thank you.
fun.
And thank you for your time, and thank you for I've had more fun on this call than I have in ages. So thank you, and have fun at the retreat. Stand by the fireplace and drink something warm and toasty and play on that piano and like pretend I'm there.
Real quick, they did say, I had to call the people yesterday and said, we want to let you know that we do have a piano, but one of the keys is not in tune. That's all right. One of us is not in tune either, so it's gonna be fine.
Many of us are not in tune.
I want to go next year. I'm going to go next year.
Well,
Definitely.
I expect to do it every
Well,
single year
yeah.
until I can't.
I'm
Until
going
they
to
tell
go
us
next
about
year. I
Carol Bond will
definitely.
take over after that.
I'm choosing. I'll start choosing my outfit.
Yeah, it's all about the outfits. Yeah, that's what we're into.
Oh, kind of is. Bye, guys. It's been
All right.
fabulous. Bye.
Bye, all.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Love you
Manda,
all.
I'm
Take
calling
care.
you up. Manda, I'm calling you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.